Hi guys, welcome to Pixel Affair. It's Kobe here. So in today's video, we are going to see how we will do this in Cinema 4D without any plugin. So this is something I kind of saw on internet and I decided to see if I can do something like this in Cinema 4D without any plugin, but with the normal Cinema 4D dynamic system, right? And I use the same technique on this particular one as well, where a vase is basically melting into liquid, right? So let's actually get into Cinema 4D and see how we will do something like this. So let me pause this video and come into, so this is the vase scene. If I hit play, you can see this is the viewport of our Cinema 4D, and you can see it's melting in here basically, right? I mean, I didn't really spend a lot of time in this particular scene though, so but you can actually add a lot of it to make it more interesting. So you can see this is it, and this also is the Nike one as well. So if I go here and hit play, I hope it will play a bit faster, but basically you get the idea. And this is relatively simple, easier to do. If you understand some basics of Cinema 4D, you should be able to do this easily. So let's actually create a whole new scene and start to see how we will do something like this. So I have a whole new scene open here, and I'm using Cinema 4D 2023.2, and you can see we have our Nike spline already in there. That's what you are going to use in this example, but you can go ahead and use any object that you want, right? It could be primitive, or it could be spline that you can use to generate your primitive. So now that I have my logo in here, I'll come into my object and I'll create an extrude object, make the Nike logo a child of the extrude object, and let's reduce the offset to something like 10 and add a bit of subdivision here, right? So that we have subdivision here to, like, say, let's add like 4, right? I'll also select the spline itself and make sure the subdivision, the intermediate point is set to subdivision, and 4 by 4 in this case is fine, because I'm not trying to get so much detail because I'm recording tutorial and my machine is not the best as well. So now let's select the extrude, come to the caps tab, and the tessellation, let's change it from Engon to regular grade. You can also find, if you are using an older version, you might find the tessellation or down here in the bottom, but in this version it's up there. So let's actually reduce it to, like, say 7, and I think 7 is fine in this case. Like I said, I'm not trying to push so much detail so that it will be faster whilst recording. Now that everything is done, in Cinema 4D 2023 Apples, you can actually add a vertex map to a generative object. If not, you have to make it editable. So in this case, I can simply right click on the extrude, come to other tags, and I add a vertex map to my Nike logo. Right now, I want the animation or the vertex map to grow from this point and grow upward, and that's what's going to use to control sort of the liquid. So I'll select the vertex map, and you can see if fields, use fields is checked. So now we have the fields tab here, and you can simply add in like a spherical field, right? Let's make it small and move it up somewhere here, right? So at frame, let's say at frame 0, we don't want it to affect our Nike logo, so let's set a keyframe for the spherical field at frame 0 somewhere here, and at frame, let's say 10 or 11, let's move, we want it to touch our Nike logo, and set a keyframe for that as well. So if you hit play, you can see it comes in like that. Let's go ahead and hide it, you don't need it again. And now let's select the vertex map, right? We want it to, when it touches it, we want it to start growing from that point. So we will go in and add a freeze layer from the modify layers, freeze layer. Let's drag it down, right? And select the spherical field in here. Change the mode, blend mode to max. And now let's select the freeze. First of all, make sure we hit clear, so that everything is cleared. And now let's change the mode from none to grow, right? The radius, I'll leave it at 10 centimeters because I know this these sizes are big. But if you have a lot of details, a lot of segments, you probably might want to reduce the radius a bit. So now if I hit play, you can see immediately it touches it, you can see it's growing. Now let's reduce the speed, also reduce the effect strength, like say 25 to check. And now you can see our vertex map is going on. So we've done this part. The next is, let's go ahead and add, right click on the extrude, come to our simulation tags and add a cloth tag to our the extrude or logo. So if I hit play, you can see it's falling because there's gravity in the scene, and it's that's what we want. So we will leave it like that. And I don't want it to fall completely. I want to fall on the ground. So I'll create a cube. I like using cubes as a floor in this case, and I'll make it quite big, right? And let's add a lot of segments to the cube in here. I'll actually make it 100 by 100. I don't know why, but I think maybe because the Cinema 4D cloth system is particle based, I feel like if the cube have enough segments, it can actually help in colliding with the falling logo or Nike extrude. So if you hit play, oh, it still falls through. So let's right click on the cube and add in the simulation tags. Let's add a cloth collider or a collider of tag to our cube. So now if you hit play, you can see it falls and it hits the floor, which is fine. So the next thing is we don't want it to all to fall at once. We want it to fall right, like the way the animation from the back here all the way up there. So now let's first of all select the vertex map, and in here you can see we have use deform point. Let's uncheck it, and now let's select the cloth tag again. Come to mix animation. Let's choose with pins. So I'll choose with pins. And now we want, so if with pins is on and hit play, you can see even though we have a vertex map simulation tag, the cloth simulation tag on it, but it's not falling, right? So we want it to be controlled by the vertex map. So let's drag and drop the vertex map in here, and now if you hit play, you can see now it's falling from the back downwards, right? But I want it to be a bit more stretchy and bendy and all of that. So I'll come into the surface tab and I'll increase the stretchiness to maybe 100, even the bendiness to as well, right? And what will make this whole thing fall separately as particles is the tearing. So I'll come down here and you can see cloth tearing. Let's check it. And now if you hit play, let's see what happens. You can see it's trying to tear, right? And this is something that we want, but we want almost every segment to sort of almost individually separate from each other. So to do that, let's reduce the tearing past, like it's set to 150. Let's set it to like 100.1, right? 100.1%. And also the tearing guiding, let's also increase it to 90%, right? And now if we hit play, let's see what happens. You can see now it's tearing and falling almost like individual segments, right? And that's exactly something or what I want in this case. So yeah, this is exactly how I did it. So now that we have this, we can simply go ahead and bake it as a lembeck. I'm not sure we will do anything to it. Maybe the floor, that maybe we can add a little, reduce the friction so that maybe the things can, you know, slide along the floor, stuff like that. But that's not necessary in this case. So I'll simply write that now that we have segments falling individually and we are cool with it, all we have to do is now I can bake it as a lembeck and we continue from there. You can see now because I added a bit of bounciness and reduced the friction, you can see the segments are floating on the floor like that. Maybe let's set it to its default. So I'll go ahead and bake this as a lembeck, and now we'll continue to the second part where we'll make it liquid using the same segment and a bit of mograph. So to bake it as a lembeck, all you have to do is to right click on the extrude and come down here. You can see you have bake as a lembeck, and let's choose that bake as a lembeck. And now it will actually go ahead and bake it as a lembeck. Save it where we want to save it. I'll just go ahead and hit OK, and it will bake it. So now we have a lembeck baked. You can see we have another extrude object created here. So let's go ahead and disable the extrude, the original one. And now if you scrub through, as seen, you can see this is what we have, right? So this is what you are going to use to control the liquid that's falling, all right? And which is fine. So there are two ways you can go about it. I can simply come in here into my object. First of all, let me show how we will add the clonal object to it. So I'll come in here to my object in here, and I'll create a matrix object. All right, and the matrix object, I'll change the mode from grid to object, and the object you want to clone on is the matrix, is the extrude object or the Alembic file. So let's drag and drop the Alembic file in the object tab here. You can see it's cloning on the surface of our extrude. Let's select the matrix and come to the down here distribution. Let's set it to like say center, polygon center, and each and every polygon will have its own a matrix object there. So if I hit play, you can see every matrix is being created, right? And remember, we still have, let me hide this, because we make it Alembic, we still have the vertex map in there, right? So if I can see the vertex map is still working, right? And every matrix is being created. So we can use a plane effector to affect it when it should show. So I come in here with the matrix selector, I can come into my effectors and I'll create a plane effector. You can see it pushing them away, but I don't want it to push it, but rather I want it to scale it. So I'll make sure scale is checked. Uniform scale is also on, and I'll set it to -1, right? And everything disappears. And I want the plane effector to bring it on using the vertex map. So I'll come to the plane effector, the fields tab, and we'll drop and drop in the vertex map in here, right? And I can see it's rather doing the opposite. It's hiding it instead of revealing it. So let's select come in the field here. Let's come into the modify layers and let's choose invert, and you can see now it's hiding it, and now it will reveal it. All right, and this is something that we want. All right, so if you want, you can go ahead, first of all, hide our Alembic file, and if you hit play, you can see our matrix objects are showing and falling. So we can simply put this matrix object straight into a volume builder. So I'll create a volume builder and I'll drag and drop the matrix object into it. You can see it's not recognizing the object have disappeared. So let's select the volume builder. First of all, reduce the voxel size to maybe something like 1, right? And now let's select in the volume builder, let's select the matrix here and say choose use particle size. So now it will recognize the particle size of the matrices. So now that is 0, you can see nothing shows. And now if I hit play, you can see now it's falling, right? And this is one way you can actually do it. Now you can bring back our extrude and you can see it's sort of showing from the bottom, but this one doesn't blend with the Alembic file, the logo itself, right? It looks separately. But if it's something that you want, it's something that you can do. But I want it to blend as well with the Nike logo itself, right? So now that we have this, maybe the particle sizes are too big. So let's select the matrix and come in here and say maybe reduce the size to maybe 0.5, right? And now you can go into the volume builder and add smooth to actually give it that smoothing a bit, right? So this is one part of it. So you can see it's coming on, and we will use the combination of this, and also we will drag and drop the Alembic file, the extrude object straight into the volume builder as well, right? Let's actually make it a child here. So I'll drag and drop it here and make it a child of the volume builder. Let's go ahead and hide the matrix, disable the matrix for now. And if we hit play, you can see this is how it looks, right? Doesn't look right. Now let's select the volume builder, select the extrude, and what we are going to use is use mesh points. So every point will have its own sort of like radius, right? Every point will have its own radius, which will generate some volume build, like a volume there, right? And now this is where the few segments doesn't help. So if we had a lot of segments in this particular scenario, then it means they'll be close together and it will look cool. But no, because the segments are small, let's actually increase the mesh radius to like say 3, right? Or you can even do it like 5 because you want it to come together. And let's bring the SDS on top, right? So it's important to make your mesh or your logo a bit dense, so that when you generate using the mesh radius, mesh point radius, it will be smooth. All right, so now let's actually even make it 6 in this case, and let's assume this is fine. So but basically you get where the whole idea is going. So now if I hit play, right, you can see now we actually having our logo for like liquid, and that's basically the whole idea. Now after here, I basically went ahead and I added the matrix as well to it. You can see, so that one, those ones sort of comes in to fill, to make it a bit more dense and more thicker. But basically that is the whole idea. From here going, you can simply add your mesh to it and everything, and it can feel like liquid like dropping. So that's basically the idea. So now all I have to do is come to my volume builder and I'll create a volume mesher, and I'll make this one a child of the volume mesher, and now we have a mesh, right? And now you can go ahead and add materials and render it and all of that. So that's basically how I created this. So if I go into the original scene, this is the Nike one. I can simply you can see this is it, right? But I can simply disable the volume mesher and bring this. So this is, you can see this is the individual segment that's falling. You can see every individual segment that's falling. Let's actually take off the camera, the normal regular camera. I think this one doesn't move. Oops, this does. In fact, let's bring it to no camera. So if I hit play, you can see it's just falling, right? And that's exactly the same thing I did. Then I went ahead to create the matrices, like you can see. So the matrix, I created 3 different ones. So one for the polygon center. If I check in here, you can see one matrix is set to where is it? The matrix object. Oh, actually, is it locked? Well, I'm not. Oops. It's not actually showing the matrix, but basically one matrix is set to polygon center, another one is set to polygon edges, and another one is set to random polygons, to sort of make sure everything is filled, well filled, so that, you know, like when we generate the points, it will look cool a bit, right? And you can see it's coming on like that, and it's not, you see in here, because of the polygon surface, it will keep jittering. But the reason why it wouldn't show is that because we are going to use the plane effector, which is this one, to bring it on. It doesn't show anything here, it only happens down here, which we are cool with. It adds a bit of movement to our object. All right, so you can see the plane effector, and it's also using the same vertex map, and now it comes on. And I blended with this with the particle select the volume builder. I can see we have the extrude also added here. I blended it with the use mesh point, the same thing. All right, and if it all combines, it gives us this, right, which we can now add our material to it. The same thing also applies to the vase. So you can see this is the vase one as well. You can see it's melting. But if we uncheck this and come to the vase mesh, where is it? Is this? You can see the vase mesh also have similar thing. So you can see the mesh is falling. Now with the V, I didn't get the male to, or what I should have left the gravity for it to keep falling when it gets to this point, but I actually animated the gravity. But it also used the same technique, and I also reduced the friction on the surface here and added bounce to it. That's why it's moving on the surface and moving away. So basically that's how I did the 2 videos, right? If I bring it back, so this is it once again. You can see it's very simple to do. And then the Nike one as well. So let's see, it's just the logo, and it's dissolving into liquid basically, right, using the cloth tag. So I hope this video was useful and you've learned a thing or two. If there's any question of anything you didn't get and you want me to explain, I'll try. You can WhatsApp me on text me on Instagram basically, and or under the comment section you can ask, and if I have time I'll try and see if I can answer some of the questions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.